Hi everybody, it's Carla. I'm back with a second little video this morning. It is Thursday, July 30th. Just got up this morning kind of reminiscing about my childhood and things. You know, we do that at times. I just did a video about dolls that I remembered from my childhood. And I thought I would do a quick overview of the schools I attended when I was growing up as a kid in Detroit, Michigan. And I lived there until I was 21 and moved to northern Michigan with my husband and our first baby, and then raised my children in a rural area after living in a big sprawling urban area for all the years preceding that. So my first school I attended was my elementary school, and it was Carstens Elementary. It was between Copland and Lakeview, and yeah, I'm trying to remember, and it bordered on let's see, Verner and Charlevoix. So I'm trying to remember exactly where it was, but yes, all these schools I'm going to show you have been closed with the exception of the one where I took my driver's training at. I think that is still in operation. But all of these others, with the urban decay that happened to Detroit and whole neighborhoods being turned into vacant land again, the tax base left and much of the people left, and so these schools were just left basically abandoned. So this is Carstens Elementary. You can see the name right up here on the corner. I love this school. It was awesome. I got to win my, in 6th grade, I won the whole school spelling bee and got to go to the district. And I placed 3rd and got a bronze medal in my district spelling bee for 6th grade. And my 6th grade teacher, Miss Burns, took me to lunch at Sanders, which was a little sit-down kind of, it had stools at the lunch counter, and you could get ice cream or some kind of sandwich or something, and she took me for lunch there after that. And so that was a very interesting thing. We also lived directly across the street on Lakeview, and when the 1967 riots hit in Detroit, the National Guard used Carstens Elementary, their parking lot and their playground, to set up bivouac and station troops there to be on guard during the riots, the week of the riots that Detroit had. And so yeah, we were in the thick of it then, and our house had to be on blackout conditions at night. You couldn't have any lights on, and like I said, the National Guard was right across the street from us, and everybody was pretty much homebound, and it was a very tough and trying time. But yeah, so that was my elementary school right there. My next one I'll show you, I went kindergarten through 6th grade to this school, and then I moved on to Jackson Junior High. Now, I lived, let's see, I had to go up 2 blocks, walk up 2 blocks, and then I had to walk down about 8 blocks, and then walk another 2 to 3 blocks to get to this school. And in Detroit back in those days, they didn't do busing. Now, while I was at Jackson Junior High and after the 67 riots, they did enforce integration. So kids from the black neighborhoods were bused into our neighborhood, and kids from our neighborhood were bused to the black neighborhoods. And so that was the only busing. Only those kids got to ride a bus. The rest of us all had to walk. So picture Detroit winters, walking through blizzards and all that interesting stuff. Very interesting times to walk in, but a lot of good exercise for us, shall we say. And I really like this school too. Now, of course, I'm older here, and in junior high, starting to develop their personalities, and cliques are starting to form in that. But I pretty much hung with the same kids that, since this was our neighborhood junior high, that I had went, for the most part, with through all those years at my elementary school. So you kind of had a base a friendship there. The interesting thing about this school is the first time, even though I lived in Detroit, surrounded by the Detroit River and this Lake St. Clair and all the Great Lakes, I never learned to swim. But I did learn to swim at this school, or should I say I learned to float. I didn't do very good in swimming. As a matter of fact, let's see, I got a D in swimming, which, was almost failing, but I did float, so I didn't totally fail. But the neat thing about the swimming pool at this school, it was underneath the gym floor. And if you ever saw the movie It's a Wonderful Life with Donna Reed and Jimmy Stewart, they went to a dance at a high school, and it had that kind of a swimming pool underneath the gym floor. And when they pushed the button, the floor rolled back and exposed the swimming pool, and that's exactly what this junior high school had. And so that was kind of interesting to swim in that. And I never got out of the shallow end of the pool. I couldn't get up and go off the diving board or anything. I never got in the deep end because, like I said, I did only learn to float. But yeah, it was a very interesting school, and I love going there. The next one is Denby High School, and I only went to the, and right there it says Edwin Denby High School. I only went there for their driver's training when I was 16, and that was exciting too. I took it in the wintertime. They'd offer courses throughout the year, and they'd schedule you according to your, I don't know, I guess alphabetically or something, or they put your name in and drew it out of a hat. I don't know, but I got the winter time of doing it, and they had a building off from this main building where people would go in, and they had a big table, like bigger than a pool table or something, and it was all set up with little cars and little roadways. It had working stoplights and stop signs and pedestrians and all this stuff, and you would just practice on this, and you'd take your written tests and you'd do all this. Well, when you got finally to a point where you could get out on their track and actually drive a car, then you had graduated to that level. Well, so I get out, it was my turn, and I was the driver, and then the teacher was next to me, and then there was two kids in the back seat. And we had brand new Dodge Demon and Dodge Dusters to drive. And you're only going, you got to think, like 5 miles an hour down this track, and it's shaped just like the track you were working on the inside, only now you're in a real car on the outside in this big parking lot. And it's all fenced in, so you're not going to go anywhere. But I remember at my first, I'm heading out, and I just start out, and I come to the first place where I have to make a left turn, and there's a huge snowbank, and it just threw me, and I drove us right into the snowbank. And the teacher made me get out of the car and walk back inside, and I had to sit there for a week and do that whole table again before I ever got a chance to drive again. And then the weird part is, so as soon as you finished your driver's training, you had your permit, then you went to Secretary of State, and they would register you, and you got a temporary permit, and you had to drive with a parent or an adult. And so I went right from driving barely, making it out of this little parking lot thing, to driving on Detroit expressways. Now, it's a wonder any of us kids survived, but we did. And so that was a very interesting experience. So that was at Edwin Denby High School. Now I will show you the high school that I went to. I went to Cass Tech, which was in downtown Detroit. They called it a satellite school because all of the Detroit school neighborhoods had their own high schools. They had Cody, they had, our neighborhood high school was Southeastern, Denby was a neighborhood high school, all kinds of different ones. But if you had a B or better average in school, you could apply to go to Cass Tech. And you would ride the city bus system down to the school, and you got a reduced bus pass, and and all this, but it was it had a really good reputation back in the day when I started there from 69 to 72. And a lot of famous people actually did go to Cass Tech. Tom Selleck, Diana Ross of the Supremes. I can't think offhand who the others, but there was actors and actresses that had, you know, lived in Detroit and attended Cass Tech through the years. And they had different, I don't know what they called it, but you would graduate with a different high school diploma depending on the courses you took. Now, I took business administration because I really wanted to be a secretary, work in an office, work in a library, do something like that. But they also had science and arts, which was for the very brainiac kids. It was heavy in chemistry, biology, math. Those were the kids that went on to universities and engineering and doctors and all that stuff. Then they had performing arts, and that was the kids that were very talented in singing, dance, pantomime, theater, writing, all these things. Just a bunch of different curriculums that you could get your graduation diploma in. So loved this school, loved it. It was smack in downtown Detroit. It took up an entire city block. At one point this was an actual factory, and it was renovated a long, long time ago and turned into a high school. It had 4 elevators, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, it had 4 elevators. I think it had 8 stairwells. The lunchroom was up on the roof. Actually, there was a area up there between these columns that you see, and it was a room up there, and then it was all fenced off, so you couldn't have gotten out on the roof. But that was where the cafeteria was. So if you had a class on the first floor or down in the basement and you had to go to lunch, you had to make it up all those rooms. Now, I mean all those floors. Also, at the heyday, this school held 5,000 students at one time. When I graduated in 1972, our graduating class had 1,500 kids in it. And we didn't have our graduation here. We had it at another building in downtown Detroit, a big auditorium that could, you know, hold all the people that would come for that graduation. So yeah, it was a very interesting place. We had to drive. Like I said, some kids drove, but very few because there really wasn't parking. Almost everybody took the bus, and for me, I took it all the way from East Side Detroit, which would take me like 45 minutes to get downtown on the bus, and then I had to transfer and get down to the school. Well, on a nice day or a warm day or just feeling like you wanted to walk, you could technically walk from downtown to the school before the bus would get there, that you would have rode if you had transferred. And so a lot of us would do that, walk along the way, look in stores and do stuff. And that's where I graduated from in 1972. And this building, the original one right here, was tore down, and they built a new, modern, sleeker, shorter, smaller version of it right across the street from it. So my high school is gone. My junior high is closed and it's scheduled for demolition. My elementary is closed and scheduled for demolition. The one I went to for driver's training is still active, I think. And yeah, it's just kind of sad to remember, and as well as all the schools being either closed or demolished. All the houses I lived in growing up as a kid were all demolished and are now vacant lots. So Detroit is a very different place than what I grew up in. But when I grew up from 1954 to 1976, I loved Detroit. I wish it was like it used to be. I would be living there in a heartbeat. I absolutely loved my hometown of Detroit, and I still love it. So thank you for reminiscing with me, and if you would like to do a video response with pictures of your own schools and that, I would love to see it. I love to see other people's history and hear stories behind it. So thank you very much for watching, and we will talk to you later.